Hey, so I'm back. I wanted to tell a little bit about probate today because I had court today. It was a case status on the review of attorney fees that I filed, and I will get to that and why that was filed. But the attorney that was currently on the case was able to withdraw, but the rest of the fees that I owed last year from January to November were also waived, so I do not owe them any more money. And then the only other thing is I have to find another attorney, so which is why I'm going to make this short. I'm not bashing anybody, but I'm telling my experience about what happened. So the communication between this law firm and these attorneys and I wasn't very good on their part, and I started questioning it early on in the case, but I'm like, you know what, they're on the case. I just want probate to be closed. It should be straightforward. It's a pretty simple case. My husband didn't have like any real estate, no investments. Like there was a lot of stuff that he didn't have, which would make probate a whole lot easier. So what happened was the inventory was filed in July. And then I started asking questions about how disbursements work and all that stuff, disbursements of the assets and how you get reimbursed from the estate. That was at the end of July. They did not get back to me until October, and they did not answer my question directly in October. But they also had messaged me and asked me about an item that an heir was given, and was now claiming that it was theirs and not their father. Well, not their father's. I'm going to say that. But I had proof otherwise, and that was the end of that. And so, of course, I asked what were the next steps, and the answer to that was that they were waiting for the inventory to be accepted, I guess. This is October. November, didn't hear anything. Getting toward the end of December. So I reached out like, hey, what's going on with the status of the inventory? Didn't hear anything back. But I did call. I called them, and they're like, well, the other attorney conceded, everything's set. We're just waiting for closing. Okay, great. No problem. January came. Reached out to the attorneys. Hey, what's going on with the case? Didn't really hear anything till the end of January. It's like, okay, they were just waiting. You have to wait out the period that creditors can file claims. Okay. April comes. Hey, what's going on with the case? I'm sorry, I'm not giving you guys the years. This is April of 2025 because probate was open in 2024. So what I was talking about before was like December 2024, July 24, and December 2024, October 2024. Now we're in April of 2025. Like, okay, well, they were going to do the final accounting and set a date for May. Now, note the next court date for this is supposed to be July. It's like, okay, we have time. So I reached out, and they set a accounting date for May, beginning of May. Reached out mid-May. Hey, what's going on with accounting? Again, I'm not hearing from these attorneys. They got back to me, and I can't remember if it was May or July. Hold on. These are the wrong messages. Okay, well, anyway, they got back to me. And I was like, oh, sorry for the miscommunication. Let me look through this. Didn't hear again from them until July. Court date is mid-July. Okay. Reaching out, hey, I just want to make sure everything's good before closing. These attorneys hadn't been correcting me on when closing was since the beginning. haven't been telling me when to show up for court, whether or not I need to go to court or not. This time, I think it was we'll give it 3 business days. I believe it was 3 business days before my next court date. Messaged me saying that they didn't have the inventory, they don't have the bank accounts. I'm like, what do you mean? I gave that all to you guys last year. And they're like, oh, now all of a sudden they have it. Now we have to go do all this final accounting. The court date is coming up. I'm thinking the case is going to be closed. So now we're rushing to accounting. All the accounting is wrong. I had to continuously send the attorney this information that they had over a year ago on the accounting. They still get it wrong. Final accounting's wrong. Come July. It's just a case status. I didn't have to show up. The attorneys didn't show up. They were on Zoom. I emailed them hey, me and my family showed up to court. What's going on? Okay, I went back about my business. I'm like, oh yeah, you weren't supposed to show up and this, that, and whatever. Okay. I set the next court date for September. Reach out to them. I think about a week before. Hey, I just want to make sure everything's set for closing. Again, didn't correct me. This is 2025. Didn't correct me about the closing of the case. They didn't say, no, this is not closing yet. Didn't correct me. Didn't tell me I didn't have to come to court. Then all of a sudden, I get this email a couple of days before court. Oh, well, we just have to finalize the accounting and make sure that the other party has no objections. Objections to what? What are you talking about? I had just asked them if everything was okay for closing. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to file a continuance. And then all of a sudden, they start filing this paperwork when I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Objections to what? They're not explaining. What can they object to? Not explaining this to me. So I show up to court again in September. Attorney's not there. Show up on Zoom again. We're not on the call. I'm calling the attorneys like, what's going on? You guys aren't here. They said they're not on the call. Long story short, they claim that it was dropped from the call. But then again, at the same time, they said before that they were going to file for a continuance. Coincidence? I think not. But then she sends all this paperwork. Yeah, this is what I sent. I never got that paperwork that they sent, and nobody else did either. Oh well. It's continued. Now is when we get to the review of attorney fees. Now I'm in my right headspace. This is 2025. My husband passed in November of 2023. All the court cases and everything were settled in 2024 except probate. I'm in an okay headspace now. There's not so much going on. So I start going back and looking through these bills. These charges aren't making sense. This doesn't make any sense. So what I was seeing in my billing was, for one, a monthly charge that I never agreed to. It was expensive. It was ridiculous for like a case monitoring fee. And I'm like, for what? You guys are charging me to monitor this case that I never agreed to every month. But on top of that, you're charging me to do all this other stuff. I'm looking. See the inventory. These attorneys spent 16.6 hours reviewing inventory. They spent 8 hours on the inventory after the inventory was already filed and finalized with the court. Didn't make any sense. Then I looked up what I should do, because I was about to go left. I should have went right. So I went right, reached out to the attorneys with the billing concerns or whatever. Went back and forth with emails about my concerns about some of the charges that they bill for, how that didn't make any sense and stuff like that. Couldn't come to an agreement. So the next thing, the left, was to file a review of attorney fees with the judge and have the judge look at it. Did that. That's how we got to the review of attorney fees, because there were charges on there that I did not think made sense. So, set a court date for that. We went to court, and then the judge was like, well, basically, if you don't submit this information, then we'll give her money back. So they decided to respond or whatnot, which is fine. And also set, did they set a hearing date? I think they said they were able to respond. I think they set a hearing date, September. Remember, this is 2025. I filed the review of attorney fees in October 2025. And the hearing was set for February 2025, and they were able to respond. So after court, which is crazy, this attorney comes up to me and she tells me, basically, she's manipulative and she's trying to manipulate me, but basically tells me that she deals with multi-million-dollar estates and that there are 3 cases sitting on her desk that she can't do because of what I did, which was file for the review of attorney fees. So now she can't work on her other cases. She also told me that I can't do all the stuff that I'm doing. I went to the law library, and no, she told me that you could chat GPT that. I don't use chat GPT. I went to the law library and I looked up the case law about probate, and I used that to respond to their response to my review of attorney fees. Because basically, they were trying to use case law to state that they're supposed to get paid and that I, as the administrator, was responsible out of my own pocket for paying them. That's not true, because I reviewed the case law that they submitted, and the case law that they submitted applied to administrators and executors that used the money in a wrong or fraudulent way and did not have permission to use money the way that they did. I didn't do that. I came back at them with their own case law, as well as the case law that I found that basically stated that the judge has the discretion to say what attorney fees are okay or not okay. Again, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just using the case law that I read and the context that was given in the case law that I found. Probably in the next video, I'll say what the case law was, because I don't want to make this one too long, and I don't have the papers right in front of me to tell you which case law that I used. But anyway, this February hearing, February 2026, they wanted me to, it was continued so I could submit the credits that I was given and the credits that I disagreed with. And it was continued to this court date, which I just had today. Well, it's today when I'm recording it. I don't know when I'm gonna upload it, but whatever, that's besides the point. And that's how we got to them withdrawing, and now me having to find another attorney. And I want to say this, or I'm saying this because I know when we have to go through probate, a lot of times we're not in that headspace to be able to read through contracts and be able to read thoroughly to understand all the stuff that's going on. Because when I reread the contract, a lot of things that they were saying weren't true, which confused me. But like, they listed me as a client, but in the agreement it said that they were billing against the estate. But that's besides the point, because we didn't even get to that because they withdrew, which is fine with me. But I'm saying this to say that, like I said in my previous video, you always want to have somebody with you to look through these things, to discuss things with you. Don't rush into getting an attorney for probate. Figure out the questions that you have to ask and figure out an attorney that's going to best suit your needs. Oh, that's something else that this attorney told me. She said that my husband's estate did not meet the threshold that their law firm typically takes. That's fine. But if that was the case, though, why did you take on my case? I'm like, they could have referred me to somebody else, or they could have been like, no, you have to keep looking. Some of these attorneys, it seems like they're out here for money, and they will drain your estate. So you have to do your research. There are some awesome attorneys out here, I know, because I had one for my orders of protection. You will have some awesome attorneys that will work for you, and the work they do is worth it, and they do their best to benefit the client. But then there are other attorneys out here that are just out here for the money, and they will do anything to get all the money that they think they deserve, even though they don't deserve it, and even though it's not things to do that are necessary. But that's the most important thing that you do, is do your research on attorneys. Don't rush and get into an attorney, and make sure you understand what you're getting into, especially, well, for any attorney in general, but especially for a probate attorney. And if you have to, research questions to ask them. That's the other thing I found when I was first trying to talk to probate attorneys through the consultation sites and things like that. A lot of attorneys won't tell you specifically what you're looking for or what you need, or they won't specifically answer your questions. And now I know it's because they want you to hire them on, which is fine. But like I said, I did run into some awesome attorneys through some of the consultative sites, which is really cool. And some of them, they're really nice, and I regret not getting certain attorneys. But I guess you can say you live and you learn. But that was my experience with these attorneys. Like, there was a lack of communication. Things that I believe that they did were ineffective and unnecessary, especially with the communication, especially with some of the things that they specifically did with the estate, because this estate was not complicated. And also, one more thing I want to add, can't remember. Dang. I hate when my mind does that. Like, it's gonna pop up sooner or later. I don't know, maybe I'll bring it up in another video if it pops into my head. But just make sure to do your research. Make sure you ask your questions. If something doesn't feel right, say something sooner than later. Yeah. So now I'm on my hunt for a new probate attorney. And I like my judge. My judge is really awesome. I don't know. He's a really cool judge. You go up in there and you see judges, they curse some attorneys out. And I'm like, dang, they be harsh. I mean, but if you go in there and you're trying, they know that you're not an attorney and stuff like that. So some of the judges, my judge, the judge I have was really cool, really nice judge. And I didn't feel as much anxiety going in there today as I have, just because I'm used to it now. I just wish all attorneys were really here for the people and not here for the money. because probate is tough. It's difficult, especially having to go through it not too long after your loved one died, especially if you didn't want probate to be opened. Yeah, but I just want to come on and share that, because I know I said I'd give an update about probate, and if I remember what I'm going to say, I'm going to come back and say it before I go. But yeah, until then, I am signing out again peacefully, and I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and I will talk to you guys next time. Okay, so I said I was going to come back if I remembered what I was going to say, and I remembered. So earlier in the video, I was talking about that we didn't get to that part when I was talking about the things that the attorney said and the things that I thought were unnecessary that they built, and the things that I thought that I needed credit for that I didn't get credit for, and like the misguidance and stuff like that. So what I wanted to say is that being somebody who doesn't go to court a lot, and somebody who's not an attorney, somebody who's not a judge, I had to realize that judges have a lot of cases, and you cannot just assume, or I couldn't just assume that I was going to go up there and the judge was going to know everything about my case. Now, don't get me wrong. Judges are awesome. They know a lot of stuff. Their clerks are awesome. They give them all the information that they needed, what the status is. Who knows? Some judges might remember everything in the case. I don't know. Judges are awesome, but this is for people that are not attorneys, that are not judges, of course, are not clerks, like don't know how the courts and things work. Just that we have to go into court understanding that judges don't necessarily know who we are. Not saying that my judge didn't. I'm just saying, just in general, judges don't necessarily know who you are. They don't necessarily know everything that's going on in your case. So you have to go in to make sure that you know about your case and you know what you're talking about in your case. So the judge and everybody knows where everybody is, even though like they typically know, because I mean, they're good, they're awesome, don't get me wrong. Love judges. They have a hard job to do. They deal with a lot of cases, a lot of people, and that is just what I want to say, is that we just have to realize that they have a lot on their plate too. So we have to make sure to give judges grace. Like, just like I'm up in there feeling anxious and things like that, at least not this time around, I was better. But I don't know how judges feel up there, but I guess they're used to it too. But I'm like, they have a lot on their plate. And I also just wanted to add that I feel a lot of relief right now. I feel like a lot has been lifted off me. I don't know why. The court's not over yet. And going to court today, some strange things happened. Like, I didn't go the typical way because of traffic, because it had, the weather that was last night in Chicago. It was ridiculous. So what ended up happening was I was rerouted to 47th Street. And as I was going down there, I was off of 47th and State. And I was like, what? That was where my husband went to high school. Then continued on driving. And then I went past the area where I had to take my girls to do their selective enrollment class. Their test. And then going forward, when I was in court, don't get me wrong, it's strange, whatever, the bailiff that was in there, one of the bailiffs that was in that courtroom, they had walked in, and I don't know why, I'm like just observing things. He had on a watch that looked like one of the watches my husband had or used to wear, and then the way he had his hair cut was also a way that my husband's hair was cut. So I'm a person that kind of believes that when you pay attention and when you're aware, the universe does give you signs. You just have to listen, you have to watch, you have to observe. And it also helps with me as far as being able to feel like relief, being able to feel at peace, being able to feel, okay with how things are going. But yeah, that's what all I want to come on to say, is just we got to be graceful to judges, because they got a lot on their plate. They do a lot. They're awesome. They handle everybody's nonsense. and most of them are good at what they do. But again, I'm signing out peacefully, and I'll be back for another video, so tune in to continue to hear about all of these crazy, outlandish, egregious experiences that I went through after my husband's death. All right, I'm out.